up, Commanders Nation? Welcome back to the channel. We don't have a BnG podcast episode for you today. If you guys have been checking out the community page, I said that I wanted to start doing some different content. So we're actually going to be doing a reaction video, reacting to a couple of videos today because there seems to be trouble in Ashburn once again. Just when we seem to be getting rid of the drama or removing our name from the drama, from the Washington football franchise that we've been such associated with over the past 24 years. Coach Ron Rivera couldn't seem to help himself today. He stuck his foot in his mouth, mentioning that, some players had came to him with concerns over the intensity that new offensive coordinator Eric Bienemy was bringing to practice. But before I get into this, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm not going to spend too much time giving you my words because, like I said, this is a reaction video. So let's see what Ron Rivera has to say for himself. Just to give you a little bit of context, Coach Rivera actually his press conference was actually before practice today. So I just wanted to give you a tad bit of context before we get into it. So today was Military Appreciation Day. So he spoke prior to practice. He's done this a couple of times, and I think he does these on the more special occasion days like Kid Appreciation Day and things like that, just to get in front of the media, just to get them acclimated with, the day's festivities and things like that. So his presser was actually before practice, and then we're going to see Eric Bienemy's, not his response, but his presser that was actually after practice. So without further ado, let's see what Paddleboat Ron Rivera said to set off the controversy in Ashburn today.
Going back to Bieniemy and his intensity, have players had to kind of adapt to that and have any, sort of struggled with that at times?
Yeah, I mean, they have. And one of the biggest things is and I had a number of guys come to me and I said, hey, just go talk to him. I said, understand what he's trying to get across to you,
See, this is my thing. I was going to let it play out, but I'm already getting agitated and I'm already getting irritated because I listened to this on the radio, but I couldn't give it too much attention because I was on my way to work today. But when we were making our post on the BnG page and things like that, some people were combating it and basically saying, he was asked a question, And here's my question to those naysayers and to those people that were pushing back the things that I was saying. Why is it too much to ask for my head coach of an NFL franchise to be diplomatic in his answers? This isn't nothing new with Coach Rivera. This isn't anything new with Coach Rivera. He's a stammerer. He's a blurberer. He goes on tangents with answers. Just like last year when they asked him what was wrong with the roster compared to all the other teams in the NFC East, what did he say? Quarterback. But then he was happy to let you know that, he was the guy making the decision. He was the guy looking at the analytics and the papers in the combine. Looking at analytics on a sheet of paper. He was pressed to let you know about that. So why can't we be stoic and diplomatic in this instance? No matter how you feel about how he handled the situation, this was never made to be brought to the public. It just created an unnecessary controversy, and I'm gonna let him finish. But like I said, this is something that Coach Ron Rivera has been doing. So I don't know why we're shocked at this is what he does. He's a blabberer. Like I said, this is a guy. He just goes on tangent after tangent, and he just sticks his foot in his mouth. And I kind of feel him. I kind of feel some remorse for him because I was known to be a babbler in myself in my younger days, growing up and things like that. Kind of had a stammer and things like that. But you know what helped me? When I felt like I was talking too much, I shut the fuck up, Ron. That's what I did to help me. So maybe you need to take some cues, bro. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Like, yes, you've changed the culture. Even though that wasn't hard to do with the shit that Dan Snyder had created in the prior 21 years prior to your arrival. But I will give you credit for turning that around. But all this does is creates potential for negative situations that happen in the future. In the future, like I said. And I'll be naive to remiss. I think that was Nikki Javala who asked that question. Who does a great job with her journalism and things like that. And just to give you a little background on myself, man, I'm a broadcast journalism major. a print journalism minor. So, journalism is in my roots and things like that. So I know you have to stir the pot a little bit when you want to get into some investigative journalism and things like that. And I'll be naive. Going back and looking at the presser a couple of times and things like that. I haven't seen Coach Bieniemy's response. I'm anxious to look at that, but I have heard this answer a couple of times. I'll be remiss to say that Nikki Javala did ask that question like she kind of knew what was going on or she had some inside info. But this is my thing. Like I said, what's the problem with asking our coach to be diplomatic? Why is that too much to ask of an NFL head coach? Because like I said, all you've done is create a potential for negative controversies and situations going down the line. Say that we start slow, which we have done in all of your years as a Washington football team, Washington Commander head coach. All we've done is start slow. All you do is open up the room for the first couple of weeks to be talking about, the players didn't like Eric Bienemy. The players didn't like Eric Bienemy. But let's go ahead. Let's hear what the Paddleboat Ron has to say. You going back to Paddleboat Ron with all this fuck shit that you know today.
And I think as they go and they talk and they listen to him, it's been enlightening for a lot of these guys. I mean, it's a whole different approach. A different kind of player from the players back in the past, especially in light of how things are coming out of college football. So a lot of these young guys, they do struggle with certain things. And a lot of you also got to take for where they've been. I mean, guys coming from certain programs are used to it.
They've been around losers, especially if these guys is coming from this organization. They've been around losers, Ron.
I kind of have to assimilate and get a feel for every.
They've been around losing.
Eric has.
Why do we have to take that in consideration?
He's not going to change, and because he believes in it. Jack has his approach. Having been a head coach, I think Jack has a tendency to try and figure guys out a little bit more, as opposed to, hey, this is it, this is the way it's going to be, that type of stuff. Where Eric hasn't had that experience yet.
And this is where you lose me. Who made fucking Jack Del Rio? Who the fuck made Jack Del Rio Vince Lombardi? The holy grail of assistant coaches. If I'm not mistaken, this is the same guy that caused the controversy. Granted, it wasn't with players, but with his Twitter posts and things like that last year. So he's not absent of controversy. And this is where with answers like these, this is where I think that Ron is, twiddling his little strings, being a ventriloquist, puppeting the Washington media. I'll be naive to not acknowledge the time frame. I believe that this was Eric Bieniemy's first time talking to the media since mandatory OTAs, which is over a month ago. And I understand that he was asked this question, but you've been asked several questions about Eric Bienemy before. Several. You could have chose to praise Eric Bienemy, but you chose to acknowledge that, there's some turmoil. And that's bothersome. And I'll admit, on our Twitter page today, if you're a supporter, I'm pretty sure you saw our tweet. Well, I said that the timing of this is more than sus. I don't care when he was asked the question. You knew Eric Bienemy had to go up there and face that smoke today, but you did not care. Maybe you did care, but the stammering and blabbering, you just can't help yourself. This is what Ron Rivera does. This is what Ron Rivera does, and I don't think that the national media knows this, because guess what? Everybody picked up on this today. So guess what? You made this a bigger issue than it had to be. You made this a bigger issue than it had to be. We saw Tyreek Hill tweet about it today. Basically telling the Washington players, hey man, y'all better bow up. Y'all better tighten up. Y'all better tighten up. And this is a winner. This is somebody who left Eric Bienemy and was still one of the top 10 players in the top 100 of the NFL this season. One of still the 3 best receivers. So this is a guy who's able to step back and appreciate a guy like Eric Bieniemy's greatness. But we got players that want to bitch and complain about practice. We talking about practice. You'll be a fool to think that some of those slow starts in the regular season has to do with we ain't doing shit in training camp. I love to hear that we've been having 2.5-hour practices. And guess what? If you're one of them type of players that want to bitch and complain about working hard, maybe this isn't the game for you. I'm not going to call you soft because you made it to the NFL. You made it to the NFL. Maybe winning isn't for you. Maybe you in this for the glitz and the glamour and you're not in it to win. But I can tell Eric Bienemy is in it to win. And just for my conspiracy theory mind, you know we love us a good conspiracy theory over here, Bleeding BnG. Man, I think Ron did this on purpose. Now, if you don't agree, feel free to let me know in the comments. If you do not agree, feel free to let me know in the comments. But, I mean, I feel like this is a guy, I've been to a couple of training camp practices. I've been to a couple OTA practices. I've been to, about 4 practices since, Eric Bienemy has become the offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders. And in every single one of them, he has control of the entire practice. Whether it's the offense, whether it's the defense running out, he looks like the head coach. And I feel like this is some of Ron's insecurity. He's projecting some of his insecurity. I feel like he's losing control of his team. So let me dabble a little bit of salt on Eric Bienemy's fire right now. Let me throw a little water on his flame right now. Because he a little lit. He a little lit. And I do think that Ron was coy about this. And if you agree with me, feel free to let me know that in the comments as well. Because why? Why did the media need to know this, Ron? And I saw a lot of people talking about, well, I mean, if he can't delegate responsibilities and if he can't go tell to the coach, and I understand that, and I get that. My issue with the initial premise isn't with Ron Rivera. It's with those players that's bitching. Because guess what? They're probably coming from a losing culture. And I'm not too upset with the way that Ron Rivera handled the situation. But why does the public need to know this? Why? Because this guy cannot help himself. And this is the reason why this is going to be his last year in Washington. Because the guy he's talking about might be the guy first in line to take his job in 2024. Just to let you know. So maybe that's why he's putting these feelers out there right now. Hey, Mr. Harris, it's not me. It's not me, Mr. Harris. If we fall flat on our fucking face this year, the players didn't like Eric. Let's see what else he had to say.
So when they came to you, it's just they felt like Eric was riding them too hard, or?
Well, they just were a little concerned. Okay, cool. Thank you, guys.
What the fuck is a little concern? Like, what is a little concern? I'm curious. Please let me know. What is a little concern when your offense is ranked 24th in the NFL? And your offensive line began beat upside their fucking head every practice. What is a little concern? I think those 2 words irked me more than any other comment in this press conference. What is a little concern? Like I said, my initial disagreement isn't with Ron. It's with these players bitching coming from a losing environment. Oh, he yelled at me. Oh, he yelled at me. My feelings hurt. Good. Maybe your ass need to be pushed. All right, that's enough with Paddleboat Ron. Let's see what my boy EB had to say in response. Like I said, I don't even want to call it in response because he was already scheduled to have this press conference after practice, which Coach Rivera already knew. See the setup? You see the setup? And if I'm reaching, please let me know. But, hey, I think this is more than a little bit of a coincidence. But let's see what my man EB had to say.
Working their tails off. We've had some highs, we've had some lows. But the thing that I appreciate about them is that they embraced it and they're learning. First and foremost, they're learning a lot about themselves They're learning a lot about what it takes, all right, but also, too,
Talk
they're
that shit,
growing
EB.
together. That's the fun part.
Talk
And
that
it's fun
shit,
watching
EB.
that growth process. So with that said, I'm all ears.
So you can already tell by the initial comments. He did not expect this bullshit. He did not expect to have to address this bullshit today. Like I said, this is his first comments made to the public since OTAs. He was going to use this presser to address the state of the offense. I wholeheartedly believe that that's what he was going to do. And you can tell by his initial comments. I'm not here for all that fluff shit. Let's talk about football. And like I said, this is my first time even seeing this. And I'm glad he got out in front of it before anybody asked him a question. Because he's letting you know what he's here for. Go ahead, talk that shit, EB. Let me hear it.
Along those lines, and you know that you have a reputation for being, you have some intensity about you. So I'm curious, Ron was talking about how, some players maybe had to get used to that, and they went to him and expressed and said, hey, sit down with Eric and kind of go over stuff. What is, how do you approach that, and, how do you feel about that, and just having to deal with guys who maybe aren't used to that quite?
Well, first of all, one thing I'm an open book, and I always invite players in. But also, too, as I've gone through this process, yes, I am intense. And I would be afraid, too, to start if I didn't know him. But on top of that, one thing they do appreciate is this. I'm always going to be upfront, and I'm always going to be honest. Just like I stated when I first got here, we all got to get uncomfortable to get comfortable, okay? There's some new demands and expectations that I expect. I expect us to be the team that we're supposed to be.
Really quickly, if you guys have watched Hard Knocks, have we not seen coaches get in player shits before? I just remember last year with the Detroit Lions. Deuce Staley was just telling DeAndre Sims he was running soft, he was tiptoeing and all this other shit. And it's not just the Deuce Staley. It's all the assistant coaches in the league. So why is Eric Bienemy the one getting spotlighted? I would love to do a deep dive into that. Shit, I can remember going to training camp in Richmond a couple of times and hearing Greg Minusky curse. And I want to mention the fact that this has become an issue even before Ron Rivera's presser. The likes of Rick Snyder complaining and bitching about Eric Bienemy cursing on a football field. On a football field. And he's not the only media member. I don't remember Rick Snyder saying these things about Greg Minusky. I don't remember anybody else in the media saying these things about Greg Minusky. Or any other offensive, defense, assistant coach that has come through our Washington that we've heard curse. And I would hate to have to put race in this, but you want to know why we always talking about the angry black man theory. Why we work so hard to shed the angry black man label. Just because I show passion and I curse a little bit. If I'm not berating you, you're in the NFL. You're a grown-ass man. You should be able to take it. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm not here to call him soft. I'm not. That's what I'm not here to do. But your offense ranked 24th in the NFL last year. You're wasting the prime of Terry McLaurin. You still don't know if you have an answer at quarterback. So why the fuck don't we have a sense of urgency? What the fuck is there to complain about? Please let me know. Please let me know. Get back to talking that shit.
It's not going to be easy, and everybody ain't going to like the process. But when it's all said and done with, my job is to make sure that we're doing it the right way. There's a way to do it. Now, do they understand that? Yes, because they're seeing the results. Will everybody buy in? I believe so.
They should.
It's okay.
Why wouldn't they?
You know what?
They want to win. They should.
Is to help take these guys to another level, and I can see it. Because when you think about where we started in the spring to where we are right now, We're making a lot of strides. I'm proud of these guys. It's been some, excuse my language, some good shit to watch.
Ooh! Tell me that don't sound like a head coach. Now compare this press conference to the bullshit that we just watched. And I know it's a little unfair to Ron. We showed him the last answer. He had already been up there about 10 minutes. But you can already tell the difference of philosophies, the difference of approach. You let me know who you would want to play for. You let me know who you would want to run through a wall for. Tell me that doesn't sound like a head coach right there. And I'm telling you, that's why Ron, the ventriloquist, he pulling them strings. He puppeteering that Washington, D.C. media. He's setting it up already. Don't let him, EB. And I hate to have to cause a diversion, but guess what? He did it. Because like I said at the beginning of the video, we ain't need to know this shit. Keep talking that shit, EB.
I've heard that said a couple times out there. But in examining the way you coach, right, have you ever said, I wonder if I have to tone it down at all, or do you just say, this is how I am, and I'm just going to roll with that?
Why? Did Joe Bugle have to tone it down, John Kine? Did Greg Bieniemy have to tone it down? Did Greg Williams have to tone it down? So why does Eric Bienemy have to be the one to tone it down? And you've covered all these guys. You tell me they weren't loud. You tell me they weren't cursing at their players. Because personally, I've seen it with Greg Williams and Greg Bieniemy with my own eyes. But Eric Bienemy has to be the guy to tone that fuck out of here.
I've been coaching since I retired from football. So you got to understand this. With the group, I'm always going to remain the same.
Good point, EB. I think another thing that we keep forgetting. This is a guy that played. This is a guy that that's been between the white lines. So he knows what it takes to put your body on the line each and every Sunday. So maybe that's where some of that passion comes from. Maybe that's where some of that passion comes from. You ever thought about that?
I'm always going to be loud. I'm always going to be vocal. I'm always going to demand from our leaders. But on top of that, I'm watching everything. Okay? Body language. How we're addressing the huddle. How we're getting up to the line of scrimmage. How we're presenting ourselves. Those things are important because you got to send a message to the defense. And so I want our guys to clearly understand that we're not taking anything for granted. So when it's all said and done with, do I spend time with players? Yes. You guys have been here. You see me pull players onto the side and have long
Let them know.
discussions with them.
They seen you. So why they starting this shit up?
Always on the same page. So Eric Bienemy is who he is. Okay? Eric Bienemy knows how to adapt and adjust. Eric Bienemy is a tough, hard-nosed coach. But also understand, I'm going to be the biggest and harshest critic, but I'm also their number one fan because I got their back and I'm going to support them at all times.
Hey, when he get to talking about Eric Bienemy this, when a dude get to talking in third person, you know they dead ass. You know they dead ass serious. If I get to calling myself Jalen Morgan, you know I'm dead ass serious. Tell me you don't want to run through a wall for this guy right now. Like I hate to create that diversion, and I didn't do it. Paddleboat Ron did this to himself.
How has the flow of camp kind of played into that, where you're kind of ramping up with pads and then scaling back? Like, do you find yourself having to adjust to the day at all?
It's camp. No adjustments necessary. The only thing I want our guys to do is to make sure when they leave the building, okay, go home and study. Get you a good night of sleep, and when you wake up, make sure your mind, body, and soul is ready.
Y'all let me know. Who sounds like the head coach?
Like
let me know. We saw one press conference, we seeing the other one. Let me know who sounds like the head coach of the Washington Commanders.
Interviewing for a job. Right? It's a big time competition. I want to see guys become great. And I tell them all the time, I'm selfish. I like seeing players become great players.
As they should.
People who love to
they should be selfish too.
So it's my job.
That's what's wrong with this fluff society now. What's wrong with having high expectations and holding people to them? What's wrong with that nowadays? Like, what's wrong with that nowadays? What's wrong with having high expectations and holding people to them? And that's my biggest thing. I think it was AJ Thompson, I believe. If I'm giving the wrong person credit, I apologize. But he made a perfect tweet today to sum everything up. He said Ron went out of his way to protect Carson Wentz last year. But on Eric Bieniemy's first day that he's talking to the media since OTAs, he gonna essentially throw him under the bus. Like, you can't tell me Ron didn't know what he was doing. And I will tell you what he's gonna do tomorrow. Because this is in the Ron Rivera playbook. This is year 4 of this bullshit. We done seen it already. He gonna come apologize, say that he didn't mean that. Was gonna pure an even bigger flame for the DC media to blow up. I sure hope that this doesn't put a damper on this season, because I was truly excited about this season. I was so excited about this season. You saw me on my man Rio Robinson's season prediction pod. I had us going 11-6. Because I thought that we was past this type of bullshit and drama. Evidently, we not.
To make sure that I can get everything out of them together and collectively.
What's your philosophy, or what are some indicators you see when you feel like you kind of have to make a change in personnel, or you would go to Ron and say, like, I think we should play so-and-so instead of that? Like, what are kind of, what's your philosophy?
Well, anytime there's a decision to be made, collectively we'll all sit down and discuss that. Obviously, the head coach will always be involved in everything.
Alright,
That's just
you ain't
something
really
that we
talking
do
about much
collectively.
of
The key to success. We do a great job of keeping our lines of communication, actively watching these guys compete, but on top of that, watching the growth process. And I'm only asking them each and every day, just work on 3 things. Find 3 things to work on. All right? I know practice is not going to be perfect, but if there's 3 things that you can address, define what those 3 things are. Then if you're making that necessary adjustment and working on those things, we got a chance. And that's what I'm seeing from each and every group. And that's been the fun part. That's why I know guys are buying in and they have belief in what we're doing.
Hi.
Where is it? Where is it? Hold on. Put me in the game, coach. Put me in the game, coach. I'm ready to play some football. Put me in the game, coach. Put me in the game, coach. How can you not be ready to play some football after something like that? How can you not be? Let's finish this out, EB.
Have there been instances where players have, struggled to adapt to your coaching style and have come up to you and had a conversation about it?
And so before it even goes anywhere, I make it a point to address the conversation. Because one thing, my job is to be very observant. I got to know the people that I'm discussing and working with. So my job is to address. If there's something that they may have an issue with, please, let's discuss this. Here's the reason why I felt a certain way. Here's why I said it. Now, okay, I put it back on the player. And you got to understand, we're in a grown man's business. We're in a grown man's world. My job is to make sure
Grown men.
Best
Grown men.
job.
I ain't got time to you be crying to me
I take a tremendous
about some running, about it being hot. That's why we losing. Grown men, you heard him say it.
What's personal is that I want us to win. I expect that particular player to be great at all times. I expect the effort.
Yeah, you can expect the EB, but they got to expect it of themselves. This is what a winner looks like, guys. I know we're not used to this in Washington. This is what a winner looks like.
To be a standard that's accepted by all of us. So when you're not reaching that, it's my job to address it. So sometimes they may like the highlights and the
So he
plays,
wrong for doing his job.
but sometimes they may not like it. And I'm perfectly fine with that, because that's my job. Because if I ain't doing my job, my ass get fired. So it's my job and my responsibility to make sure, and I'm getting our guys to do what I expect them to do.
You heard the man. You heard the man, and I think we're going to end it on there. If he ain't doing his job, his ass get fired. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This is still a black man in the coaching ranks in the NFL. And he knows that. And he acknowledged it right there. So that's why he brings so much passion to the job. And I'm pretty sure you can see who I'm siding with on this side of the trouble in Ashburn. And like I said, I would hate to have to create this diversion, but this is something that we didn't need to know. So if you're checking us out, man, if you're still with us, please let us know how you feel. Do you agree with, Ron Rivera's approach? Do you think that Eric Bienemy should loosen up? How you feel about the DC media blowing these things up? And guess what? I don't even think the DC media is blowing things up. Because guess what? This made national headlines today. This made national headlines today. So just let us know how you feel about this situation and all. Do you think that this is going to cause us to start slow this season? Do you think that it's throwing a monkey wrench in the plans going into the 2023 season? But that'll do it for this reaction video. As always, if you haven't already, be sure to sign up to our Instagram and our X page. Our Instagram is @BleedingBnG. That's BleedingBNG. BnG. Our X page is Bleeding BnG. That's BleedingBnG. So there's only one G on our X page. And be sure to comment, like, subscribe. I'll check in on you guys later. Peace.